Well, thank you. First thing I'd like to do is apologize. We were going to get some chocolate-covered espresso beans for everyone for the session, but didn't have time. Maybe the next session will have that. But anyway, thank you. I'm a newbie with IVRPA. I just joined actually last summer. So a lot of your faces are new to me, but I think Greg is kind of a long-time guy here. But anyway, Greg and I hooked up a number of years ago, and we found that we had similar but kind of complementary backgrounds. And we both have backgrounds in feature film and visual effects. I had this notion of creating digitized environments for lease for film projects. So in other words, if you may notice, a lot of car commercials repetitively use a place called Vasquez Rocks in LA. They reuse a lot of similar locations that are shot. So my original thought was, well, I can digitize these with LiDAR scanners with photogrammetry. I can wed that with panoramic imagery, and it can be a leasable 3D set. As I began to explore that notion, I found that if I'm going to do that, I'm going to give a director of photography the ability, or he will want the ability to put whatever lens he would like on the scene. And if he does that, he may shoot with a very long lens. As we all know, as pano photographers, resolution is absorbed rather quickly in a spherical format, an equirectangular format. So in other words, even doing like the highest pano that I shoot manually is 35K with a 35mm lens, but that's quickly kind of gobbled up by the time you start to do virtual cinematography within that scene. So I naturally had to look at gigapixel photography as a way to circumvent that, and it wasn't, gigapixel wasn't my life calling. I think it is Greg's life calling, actually, from what I can tell. But I kind of entered it because it was necessary for what I wanted to do. But in any case, so we started off with manual. But what we've done is we've taken some of our knowledge base with visual effects and with 3D packages, and we've developed a way to pre-plan and program the actual shooting program using a 3D app. Very simple. I'll show this to you in a second. Also, we went through a series of trials of different equipment and kind of what our final kit would be to shoot with. And this was definitely a trial and error period. Gigapixel work, it's very accessible to any of you that have an interest. I think, Matt and Howard showed you HD View, which is now a tremendous way to actually, have it in a final state or view it. But it's a road fraught with landmines along the way, and this is why I say it took us 2 years to kind of figure out how to navigate these waters. But in any case, that was part of the time, and then also was developing a production pipeline on the back end, on the post-production side. In visual effects work and feature film, it's all about pipeline and production. So it's, most people can do work, hobbyists can do work with 3D applications. I get emails from 14-year-olds that have the same packages I use on feature film, and they can do it, and they'll do beautiful work. The question is, can you do it, on a massive scale under a given time constraint? So that's what we wanted to apply that ethic to the creation of gigapixel images. This is our first image. We did this a couple years ago now, and this was in the eastern Sierra in Owens Valley, Alabama Hills, if you know that, outside of Lone Pine. And we were fortunate to have had a fresh dusting of snow in January, but this was from one of the hills, and this was using the Pixorb, and I'll talk about equipment here in a moment, but similar what Matt used at Microsoft for his initial work. This delivered us a 70,000 by 35,000K image, 2.6 gigapixel, and this is just some insets to show you that res. So this was, I think, a good start for us, although it took literally months to stitch it. I mean, we were learning the techniques at that time. This is the Pixorb, and John Borden of Peace River was gracious enough to let us use this for a little bit. And it's a great rig. I would recommend it. It's not the best hiking rig, and we did hike with this rather extensively, and it was rather painful. The funny story about that is we had a 1DS Mark II. We put a long lens on it. We had trouble balancing the rig, so we called John, and we were literally leaving for Yosemite the next day. And he goes, "Oh, I'll overnight you a fix." So, this really heavy FedEx box showed up. We open it up, and it's a big diver's weight on a bar. So we hiked up the flank of Half Dome with diver's weights. So anyway.